How to make CBD oil from leaves and stems. Whether you're a large or small scale grower, you may have stored a large number of leaves and stems, or trim. The good news is that with a little time and effort, you can create high quality cannabinoid extracts in just a few easy steps. Step 1. Establish trim quality. Trim refers to the trichome-rich outer layers that surround the cannabis flower, or bud. The overall cannabinoid content of these leaves can range from 10 to 15%. And a high-grade trim usually includes small flowers that can't be sold elsewhere. There are 4 grades of trim based on a standard set of criteria, such as resin, trichome density, and several other factors used to determine its quality. More information on classifying trim is on our blog, a link to which is in the description below. Step 2. Sample trim. Sampling is an important part of the process. For example, some sellers determine whether the trim is good or poor quality by rubbing the material on their fingers to gauge the resin content. A more refined approach includes measuring pesticides, potency, concentration, and identity before the trim is purchased. This is accomplished with modern-day techniques using high-performance liquid chromatography ultraviolet, HPLC, mass spectrometry, and gas chromatography mass spectrometry. The finger method is a good first approximation, but it can lead to erroneous results, even with an experienced buyer. Step 3. Extraction. There are several different methods you can use to extract oil from cannabis trim. Each method varies in simplicity, scalability, and the purity of the output. Some of the most common extraction methods include ethanol extraction, supercritical CO2 extraction, and butane extraction. With any of these extraction methods, extracting THC and other cannabinoids is possible when done correctly. However, the primary issue with extracting cannabinoids from trim is the amount of biomass you would need. This is because of the low quantity of cannabinoids in trim compared to flower. No matter the method of extraction used, further refinement of the extracted product from your hemp or cannabis is necessary to create a safe, quality product. For more information on extraction methods, go to our blog. A link is in the description below. Step 4. Filtration. Filtration is necessary to remove as much of the excess plant material as possible that is co-extracted with the desired cannabinoid oil. In a small-scale or at-home extraction, this can be as simple as straining the ethanol and extraction mixture through a sieve that will catch some of the fats, waxes, and other unwanted plant materials. Filtration on a larger scale is often performed with vacuum filtration apparatus coupled with filtration media like activated carbon. This operation takes the solvent extract mixture and puts it through a filter media via the vacuum filtration. This effectively removes the majority of fats, waxes, and chlorophyll from the oil. Step 5. Solvent removal. In a smaller scale extraction operation, solvent removal is pretty straightforward. By applying heat to the extracted oil, solvents like butane and ethanol will begin to evaporate on their own. On a larger scale, specialized solvent removal equipment may be used for a more efficient process for a higher extraction yields and increased quality. Supercritical CO2 extraction, for example, is very unlikely to be performed at a smaller scale due to the equipment necessary to perform the extraction process. This equipment often includes rotary and falling film evaporators. Step 6. Distillation. Filtration and solvent removal, while necessary, do not remove all of the impurities that come from the extraction process. The final distillation process allows for cannabis or hemp oil extract that is as close to 100% purity as possible by removing the minute levels of solvents, terpenes, and other impurities. The process is the same as solvent removal. Vacuum pressure coupled with thin film and heat application helps to remove the volatile solvents and other compounds. The difference is the final distillation process that has increased viscosity as the extract is further refined. Therefore, equipment like a white film evaporator is used. White film uses a wiper blade to spread thin the distillate in the column of the evaporator so that the volatilization process can be increasingly effective. Doing this in a large-scale operation can result in potency levels near 100%, whether that extraction method is ethanol, CO2, or hydrocarbons like butane. Did you enjoy this type of content? If you did, let us know in the comments below. If you'd like to see how a supercritical CO2 extraction is done, click this video.